Well, it looks like we are live, ladies and gentlemen, with our Saturday Leaders Are Readers Book Club. So I am very, very, very excited about this. You know that we normally do our little introduction. And then after our introduction, let me make sure this is right here. After our introduction, I bring on our panelists. But everybody is already here, ready to go, and we are excited about it. Let's see here. We'll do that now. So I'm on my phone, pressing the share button. So I need everybody who's watching us right now to go ahead and press the share button as well. Do me a favor, go ahead and press that share button as well. Dear panelists and guest hosts, how are y'all doing today?
Doing great.
Doing well. Things are well.
Awesome. Now we're going to go through the regular routine. I'm sitting here getting ready to press share. I need everybody as you come in. Also, let me know where you're tuning in from. We had a little bit of a somewhat of a meet and greet with us earlier on where you from. And I believe Tim, he in the West Coast, so it's he eating breakfast and everything. But I want you all. Let me see here. He eating breakfast, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do for lunch. I want you all to let me know where you're tuning in from. Pretty please, let me know where you are tuning in from. Let's see here, and I am
looking for the link.
Making sure that everything is good on my end. Let me see here. Tim, Adelia, did y'all press the share button? I'm over here trying to get together. Did y'all press the share button?
I'm looking
That's
for
the
it right
number one
now.
order of service.
Listen, I like that. That's the number one order of service. That's what we do. That's what we do. Well, listen, we're at MJ right now. We're at MJ number 23. But you know how we like to get that number as close to 50 as possible. We have the ATL in the building. My sis Ayana. I think you, sis, you may need to help us out in June. You played us, you played us this month. It's okay though. The Lord forgive you. But I want you to help us out in June. So when we figure out what when I look at the calendar to see what the book of the month for June is, I want you all to be able to see her. We got our sister and our behind the scenes expert, Tracy from DC, is in the building. I believe I saw Marilyn in the building as well. Dope. We got St. Louis, Missouri in the building. St. Louis, that's the YouTube sanctuary. So we normally, we go back and forth. So we have the YouTube sanctuary in here as well. That's awesome. Somebody else from Maryland. St. Louis, where do you go to church? Where do you go to church in St. Louis? My mama lives in St. Louis. She goes to Faith Miracle Temple. Bishop Larry Baylor. So I'm interested to see where you go because my mama lives in St. Louis. So Adelia, where are you from and where do you go to church?
I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and I go to the Life Church Christian Center in Conyers.
In Conyers. Okay.
Yep.
That's nice. And Tim, I said West Coast, but can you be we got Colorado in the building? Yes. I said West Coast for you. Hold up, I'm trying to point right. There we go. Right for you, Tim. Exactly. Where are you, West Coast? Where are you,
I
West
am
Coast?
Central Valley. I'm in Stockton, California. We're kind of in between Sacramento and the Bay Area.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right out here, and God's Throne Baptist Church, downtown Stockton. So yeah.
Awesome, man. That's what's up. Listen, I have them on. Let's see, press deny. I have them on right now because we're gonna do an abbreviated version of Leaders Are Readers. We're normally on here for like a solid hour. We go over 3 to 4 chapters. We're only going to hit you with 2 chapters today, chapter 7 and chapter number 8. That's all we're going to hit you with today. Family, I need you to press that share button. Our numbers done caught the coronavirus. We got to go ahead and push them up real quick. But we're going to do chapter 7 and chapter 8 today. And then I'm going to do my best to beg and to plead and try to convince our founder, our CEO, our presiding bishop, Elder Mark Moore Jr. to let us do a pop-up broadcast sometime during the week so that we could do our other two other two chapters. So we'll have to figure that out. Now I don't even want to beg and ask him. I also want to give him a shout out. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this platform.
Absolutely.
And really, get into not just praise breaks and shouts, but to get into some good reading material.
That's right.
So we've been going through the happiness of pursuit. We've been going through the happiness of pursuit. And we're going to just go ahead and dive into chapter number 7. This is called, and if you have not read the book, you're good. You're Gucci. You're great. Tune in. We want to give you some nuggets from the book. Chapter number 7 deals with time and money. But before I throw it over to some of our co-hosts, I want to say I was excited when I got into this chapter. I think, Tim, me and you have been having some discussion about this. Is really kind of how the how and how they were able to, fund this quest. And the book is all about finding the quest that will bring purpose to your life. How do they fund it? How do they quit these jobs? How do they do all these things? And in this chapter, it gives us a little bit of detail, a little bit of insight about how they got some of that time and money to do so. So I'm going to throw it to my sis first, ladies first. Give me some of your view. Let me know a little bit about chapter number 7. Let's dive into this for about the next 10 to 15 minutes. Chapter number 7.
So chapter number 7 pretty much goes over counting the cost of what it is that you want to do. Which that's a word all in itself.
Right.
Is because even the word tells us that we need to count the cost. We need to know what it is that it's going to cost us. So that was like the biggest takeaway that I got from chapter 7 is making sure that you know what you're getting yourself into so that you'll know how to plan.
I think that's huge. Tim, I'm going to pass it over to you after I kind of say this statement right here. I think as we begin to talk about a quest and how in the earlier chapters, the author laid out to us how a quest is not really a short-term goal. And we'll kind of get into that in chapter number 8 as it talks about those small things, but how it's more of a long journey with ups and downs. But even within that, we could kind of take it one step at a time and somewhat put this large journey into small seasons, to use a churchy term, I guess. So Tim, what do you think about that in this whole counting the cost, time and money as it relates to chapter number 7?
I think absolutely, it was great because you have at least from what I got out of the chapter was just kind of this breakdown of it, because I think sometimes what can happen at the initial when you set out on a quest is you have this big, huge, looks like almost insurmountable task in front of you. And I like chapter 7 because it really does, like we talked about, just kind of break things down a little bit. And there were some very practical questions that I saw he put in here that really kind of help target the focus of kind of how they were able to approach these quests. One thing I did kind of trip on, it's a lot of walking in this book. Everybody's talking about walking all the time, and I'm like, whoa, okay. But I said that to say, I like the breakdown. I like the examples that he had in chapter 7. There was quite a few, and I had some little scattered notes in here as well. But I think what my sis said about counting the cost, that's absolutely essential, because if you don't, like the word says in Luke 14. If you're not counting up the cost, who sets out to build a building and doesn't count the cost to actually do that? So I like that. I also like that he put in towards the end there was like an alternative option as well. I think that was huge, because you can easily say, plan this, plan that. If you're not a planner and that's not your natural gift, that's something you may have to work at. Sometimes you just got to jump in and make it happen.
No, I think that's huge. And let's deal with the book from a general perspective. Let's try to bring it in a little bit more narrow to help out our listeners who are tuned in right now. What are some practical things? We're going to go in reverse. We're going to go Tim and then Adelia. What are some practical things that we could be doing now to help count the cost or prepare for our quest? Now, I think that's so important, because sometimes we can get out there and either we do not realize. I think it's two sides to the story. One, we can get out there and not realize how much sacrifice it takes to actually complete the task. But on the flip side, there could be some things that we're trying to do, and we assume that it's going to be expensive, and we assume it's going to take a lot of time, and we assume it's going to be just this big, huge issue and this burden. But if you sit down and you're strategic about it, it may be easier. You know what I'm saying? It may be easier than what you're assuming it to be. Some of you may have said to yourself, you know what? I want to read one book a week. I want to read one book per month. And because you're trying to read one book per month, you never had time. You couldn't fit it in your schedule. You couldn't get together. But then here comes a book club. And what the book club did, it allowed you to break that book down into weekly bites. So now it's easy for you to follow along, and we're all going to be reading at a minimum one book a month, not because you had more time or less time, but because the practical application of this book club allowed you to give yourself what the author calls sub goals, to where now I'm not trying to read this whole thing, but now I'm trying to do a little bit per week and get to my goal. So what are some practical things we could do, Tim, as far as counting the cost and preparing for our request? But I don't want you to answer until everybody watching presses that share button. Everybody presses that share button. So go ahead, Tim.
What I saw in here, what I liked is the deductive reasoning piece, where he kind of gave this little breakdown of goal, time, money, other costs, and then the unknown. So it's a breakdown for you to actually see it. I don't know, for myself, and I struggle with this sometimes, if I don't actually see something and I have like an actual a format that I can look at, it almost doesn't exist. I mean, you can have it in your mind, but until you actually put it down and have yourself a visual, that's kind of a one way for me that's been helpful in kind of initiating and starting things and breaking it down. And I kind of think of it like, like baby food, for example. If baby has to get so much nutrition, right? But sometimes it has to be broken up into small little pieces so that the baby can consume what the baby needs. It's not that, if it's one, so for example, an apple, it's still a whole apple. It's just broken up. You know what I'm saying? And it's getting into the baby the way it needs to by you breaking it down. So I like the example that he put in there of how you can just kind of have a format to look at. That really kind of helped. I like that part. That was good for me.
No, that's dope. All right, sis, it's on you now. What give our listeners something practical they can do to kind of help count the cost or kind of prepare?
So I think one of the things that I personally have done and have seen it work really, really well is working your way backwards. So like, say for instance, whatever the quest is, and I think he mentions that, I forget what chapter, because the book is so good.
Let me read it. Let me I'm gonna stop you real quick. I'm gonna read it. It says another way to consider a big goal is to start from the end point and plan backwards. So he definitely mentions that here, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that's been my biggest thing, is like, okay, well, let's look at the end game. Sometimes you got to look at the end game in order to know how to start. So if you know what it takes, let's just say, for instance, to be the president of the United States of America, then you know that there are certain goals that you have to set in order to reach that goal, because there are preliminary qualifications that are required for that particular goal. So I think starting from where it is, no matter how big it is, because I think one of my favorite quotes is, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So you literally take it step by step, and you cross off, which I know we'll get into in the next chapter, but you cross off what it is that you've done to accomplish getting to that goal.
No, I think that's great. Now I want to turn to our comment section. And let me throw this out there, because I want our comments to be jumping. Whoever has the best answer, I'm gonna buy you lunch.
There we go.
Whoever has the best answer in the comment section, I'm gonna cash app you. I'm gonna buy you lunch today. Here's the question.
They have to have shared though.
You gotta share. And
right. I like that. Okay.
You gotta share, and you gotta press answer, and my other phone done died. So I already pressed share. Here's the question: to get some free Chipotle on the YLC Leaders and Readers broadcast. What are you doing? What are you doing to prepare, or what are you doing to count the cost for your quest or your journey? I need some answers in the comment section. Y'all get busy. I'm gonna allow. How we gonna pick a winner, y'all? How we gonna pick a winner?
That's a good.
I'm gonna ask Tracy. Tracy is in. Tracy is on you. They can't see you. Can't nobody get mad at you. I want you to, as they come up, Tracy,
I like that.
I want you to put the different answers on the screen, and then when I say the winner is, whoever you click on is gonna be the winner. And okay. I'm gonna have them inbox myself, and we're gonna cash app you. What are you doing to count the cost for your quest? One thing that I've done. This really isn't a quest. It's more of a short-term goal, but just to give a practical answer, I have literally counted the cost. What do you mean? Near where I stay, there's a Menards. Do y'all have a Menards? Do y'all know what Menards is?
I'm on the West Coast. I don't know what that is.
The store, Menards, save big money at Menards. You ever heard that?
No.
Nah, we got Food Max, man, and
okay. You ever heard of Home Depot?
Yes, we have Home Depot.
We got a Home Depot.
It's like a Home Depot, right?
Or like a Lowe's?
Yeah, like a Lowe's.
Okay.
More comparable to Lowe's. So there's some remodeling. You know, we want to purchase a new house and things of that nature.
Got you.
So I go to Menards once a week at a minimum. Once a week.
Okay.
I go in there. I look at the hardwood flooring,
right?
The laminate flooring. I look at the cabinets, the vanities. I look at stainless steel refrigerators. I look at the washers, the dryers, I have a list right now. You may be laughing at me, but I'm counting the cost. I have a list right now.
That's good.
On if we to actually buy a house with all of this in it, kind of where will we kind of be in our goal? But as I told you guys a few weeks ago, I love HGTV. I love HGTV. Okay. So part of me is like, man, maybe we buy a fixer-upper and then let me see how much XYZ costs, and then let me go Google how much it'll be to kind of get all these things. And so I literally counted the cost. Some of you need to count the cost because your dream house is closer than what you think.
Oh man,
you gotta say, all right, I need to make X amount a year. I need to make X amount a year. I need to get my credit. No, seriously, I need to make X amount.
That's good.
I got to get my credit score up to X amount.
That's
and when
right.
you actually begin to count the cost, it allows you to be more disciplined.
Wow.
When you count the cost, it allows you to be more disciplined because now, instead of going out to eat every other day to McDonald's and to do this, that, you say, you know what? I can save that 10 here, and I can save an extra, couple hundred a month, put that to the side. Now you look up like, whoa, it's been 2 years. I got 20, 30, whatever it is to actually go to the down payment, to own a house, to, go ahead and But if you actually know what the cost is, it's easier to apply that discipline.
Listen, was you in my house this week, man? Man, come on, man.
When we were done last week, I put a bug in your house. I've been listening to all your podcasts.
I'm telling you, because man, spot on. We literally, my wife and I just had this conversation the last couple of days just about budgeting, and like you said, we looked at it, and it's closer than it's way closer than you think. And what can happen is that fear can set in to where you say, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to plan. I don't want to, because it's too much. The initial shadow of it is it's too much, but when you put the work in to actually put it down, like we're talking about, and actually count up the cost, that's crazy. You're right on, spot on.
I'm seeing the answers come up. This is great. Remember, we're asking you, what are you doing to count the cost or to prepare yourself? And the best answer, we're gonna cash app you, and it's gonna be lunch on us. Go ahead, sis.
I wanted to add that it's important to also count the cost because you don't know who will fund it. So if you want to call somebody, and that has been a testimony, literally, of mine.
Okay.
If you don't know how much it costs, right? then that tells that person that maybe possibly funding it, sponsoring it, that you didn't even do the research.
You're not serious about it,
and your quest and your dream and your vision isn't my responsibility. My only responsibility might be to write the check.
Come on.
And if you don't know how much it costs and you didn't do the research, then that tells me that, well, this isn't worth funding. And money follows movement. So you just got to start doing it.
Yes.
And then people will start attracted. Well, they will be attracted to whatever it is that you're doing because you've done your due diligence to know how much it costs. So, and ever since that lesson, I keep a number in my head. If any man ever say, I need to write the check, how much you need? Oh, I got the number right here.
That's good.
No, I mean, I think that's awesome. This is not, I wish it was, but this is not my testimony. But, and I don't think you would mind me sharing this. Well, I'm not going to say his name. One of my mentors was telling me about how he was, he's very, very well financially. He actually does teaching on finances and stuff. And I was talking to him about getting my credit together and doing some things. And what he told me was, he said, man, when I got serious about my credit, I got my credit report. He said, I got everybody that I owed, and I had a total amount. This is what it's going to cost for me to be debt free. He said 3 months after me writing that list, somebody came up to me and said, young man, I see you putting in the work. I want to be a blessing to you.
Wow.
How much do you need to be debt free? And they wrote him a check for what he needed to be debt free. Now, at the time, he was not owning a house, so he didn't have, he had, tens of thousands, but it wasn't like, a mortgage. And but still, it was enough to get him debt free. So what you said about you don't know who's going to fund your quest or fund your vision, that is that's amazing. And we are a book club, but even though we are a book club, we are still people of faith. So I want to stir your faith that the reason why you need to be preparing and counting the cost is because God is getting ready, even in a pandemic. Press the share button. I want to get this word to everybody. I want to believe, God, that even within this pandemic, God is going to begin to send people who have the resources you need and have the desire to bless you in a major way. I need at least 10 of y'all to type amen. I know you're writing down your comments to get your free lunch. I need at least 10 of y'all to say amen. I'm going to count the cost. I'm going to prepare. I'm going to get ready because I do not know who in the world is going to come up to me and want to fund my dream, who's going to want to fund my vision, who's going to fund my business, who's going to want to fund my daycare, who's going to fund my automobile, who's going to fund my publishing company, who's going to fund, whatever it is. You have no idea. But faith is the substance of things hoped for.
Come on,
the evidence of things not seen. So we're going to get our budget sheet ready. We're going to get our deductibles ready. We're going to get our line items ready because we're believing. Woo! I know it's a book club, but
you're preaching already.
Look! You getting geared up?
Ready to
getting
send
ready.
People, even in a pandemic. Oh man, it is so. It is so.
It is so.
So press the share button. I want your friends to hear this. I want your friends to be encouraged. I want the faith of your friends to go to a next level. We're not just counting the cost to be depressed. We're counting the cost because we believe that we're going to have a testimony that this is how much it's going to cost. And this is what God is going to do.
God's going to do.
Our life. We're not going to count the cost to be depressed, to be discouraged, to be upset. We're going to count the cost and say, God, I don't know how, but I thank you that you are going to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think. Amen. Another thing that it says here in the book, it says in chapter number 7, we're going to go on to chapter 8 real quick. We got about 10 more minutes. I'm sorry. I felt something there, as they would say. But
it was good. It was good.
It says that the more prepared you are, the more spontaneous you can be.
I like that.
And then it says a good plan allows for plenty of spontaneity and room for change. But without a plan at all, it's difficult to work towards something significant over time. So I like that there. And I'm gonna go to my sis. Sis, you can speak to this. The fact that when you plan, you can be more spontaneous.
Yep.
And I think we make it seem like you have to do one or the other.
Right.
And we don't realize that the more that you plan, the more spontaneous or free you could be. So can you talk to that for a little bit in chapter 7, how he kind of brings some of that stuff out?
Yes. So what I like is, or the idea that kind of comes to mind is, if you have a plan, then it allows you some flexibility, and it kind of tells you what the capacity of that plan is. So just for an example, let's say if you got $1,200 that you say, okay, this is just my play money. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to a hotel, whatever. But then because you planned and you did what it is that you were supposed to do as far as making room for that 1,200, I hope I'm making sense. Then you created the ability to be spontaneous. Say, for instance, if God speaks to you and tell you to move or bless somebody. So now you're not putting yourself in a vicarious situation, because you already had $1,200 that you planned for. So now you can just move in a different way with it. And then you don't know what other opportunities may come up for that planned $1,200. So now somebody's telling you, you better go buy some Nike stock, and is 1,200, and now all of a sudden you're like, well, I had 1,200 to play with anyway.
Right.
So because you already planned for it, now you kind of have the ability to be flexible on what you do with what you planned for, like he did with his trips.
Yeah,
I love it. Let's transition. That's chapter 7. There's more in there about planning, and as he calls it, sub goals. But we want to spend, I keep saying only 10 minutes, but serious, the next 10 minutes, we're going to zero in on chapter number 8, where we're introduced to something. And I'm going to let Tim kind of really be our conductor and drive this train on chapter 8. It talks about life listing. It talks about life listing. Tracy, let me know who won the contest. Put the comment up who had the best description on what they're doing. And if you are the winner, I need you to inbox me your Cash App, and when we're done, it's going to be lunch on YLC today. All right. So Tim, life listing. This is like a new, not really a principle, but a new activity that we can add to our quest. Talk to us about chapter 8 for a little bit.
What I liked about chapter 8, he talks about life listing, or I think he opens up about the bucket list kind of thing. But I like the other angle of it, that you kind of list these things and you're able to look back. And even the first little comment he says in here, we like lists because we don't want to die. I had to sit there and really look at that one for a little bit. I was like, what is he trying to say? I mean, what does that quote really mean? We like lists because we don't want to die. And for me, I understood it as, basically it gives us something to live for, to be able to have that list and be able to see, okay, this is what I want to do. This is, my quest all lined out. And then he kind of breaks down the numbers. I like also what he says about learning these different languages and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
And how he was able to learn by kind of just jumping in, right? But for me, the list, it gives you kind of like what we talked about a little bit in chapter 7, was that just you have to have something on the visual. And we are people that want to be able to have that checklist, to be able to see, okay, I've done this. And I know for myself, I'm able to look back in my life in times where, my wife and I have spoke something and said, hey, we want to do this. We want to live here. We want to pursue this. And because we had that list to look at and kind of go through, we didn't even realize it until we look back 5 years. Hey, we did that. We knocked that out. But it's because the list was present and we had that thing available for us to see. So
that's great. Tim, do me a favor. The young lady who won, do you know her?
It's probably my wife. Is it my wife? Did she win? Oh Lord, she probably on the comment.
Do you know her?
Let me see.
What's your wife's name?
Sedina, Cedina.
That's her.
Listen.
Okay.
Congratulations, Sedina.
They're gonna think that we rigged the contest. So we gotta choose somebody else. sorry.
She always chiming in though. Yeah, sorry. Right. Oh, she gonna say something afterwards. She'll be all right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for commenting. Your husband is a blessing to all of us here. But they're gonna talk about us. They're gonna say it was rigged.
Yep.
They're gonna say it was bootleg. They're gonna say that Tim sent me money so I could send to them. So
that's all right. I'll buy her some Thai food later, man. That's all right.
There you go. Take care of it now.
It's on him.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we have a new winner. Our sis Ayana. We talked about her for not joining us, so she's gonna help us out next month in June, and she's gonna inbox me because it's gonna be lunch on YLC. All right, so we have our winner.
Congratulations, Ayana.
Awesome. Tim, what you were talking about as far as the
No, I was gonna say, the list. I didn't add this part in. That one, there's one section in chapter 8 I really liked. I just want to highlight. He says, avoid fuzzy goals. Make your list specific. And I was like,
man, I think we should go through that. Let's go through this. We got about 5 more minutes. Let's go through. I know you guys have the Kindle, and I have the hard copy. So last week Adelia was on page 3007, and I was on page 74. Right. Trying to figure out, how does this work? But let's kind of go through the list. So basically, we have this big quest that we're on. They're suggesting and they're implementing a new practice called Life List. They talk about the bucket list and the list of things that you want to do before you pass. And it basically says to take your quest and then begin to give yourself a list of things to do within a span of time. This is why you guys really need to dive into this book. It's going to help you with your vision and your future. It's also going to help you even more if you press the share button. It'll really help you. It'll really help you if you press it. We may do another giveaway. I'm in the spirit earlier. We're not. That's not going to happen.
I got the next one if we do.
Oh, okay. So the first one was on Lewis. Now Tim is sponsoring his wife's lunch.
That's right.
And last but not least, our sis.
I got you.
We have to think. We got to think of what they need to comment. So as me and Tim are discussing chapter 8. Sis, I need you to be thinking about a question for them to comment on, and then you're going to bless them with a few dollars to go get lunch. That's good?
That's good.
This done turned into Blessing Saturday. You get
right. You get right.
You get lunch. You get lunch.
Let's go through this list, Tim. I'm gonna let you once again. You're gonna be our conductor through chapter 8. Let's go through this list. Let's go through each of the main points. And kind of just give a little breakdown. So the first thing you said was avoid fuzzy goals. What's a fuzzy goal? What do you mean by a fuzzy goal?
So, I mean, it's so generalized, right? And so vague that there's no specificity to it. Like you don't have, it's not targeted. And I think that's what I got out of it is, because he kind of says, he broke it down. Like, for example, an unmeasurable goal would be, okay, I want to lose weight. But how do you want to do it? Like how specific? We got to be specific. Like, are we talking about a specific number, or is it a specific way you want to look? Like you got to kind of get more specific. Those fuzzy goals, I think, can tend to lead to procrastination. And a space where you never really get any work done because it's just something that you say and you don't have the action plan in place to actually to see it through. So I think that was a good. Yeah.
What about mix it up? It also says you got to mix it up. Give us some insight on mix it up.
I saw that too, and I like that because he talked about climbing Mount Everest. What do you really want to achieve? And I think that for me has been something that I've kind of looked at differently as well. Is you've got to mix it up and change it up, because if not, I mean, it's very easy to fall into this place of being mundane, doing the same thing over and over again, like we talked about before in previous chapters. Getting into that routine cycle of doing the same thing over and over again. So we have to be willing to mix it up, and I think. Finding that new space, although it can sometimes be scary, you got to take that leap of faith. Like you said earlier, we're people of faith. You have to take that leap if you really want to see God move. If you really want to see, the top of the mountain that he's talking about, you got to take that leap. I'll never forget. I was just I'll share this real quick. I know we got limited time. my wife and I a couple years back took a trip to Jamaica, and while there's a spot in the grill where you can literally jump off this cliff, and it's like,
you jumped?
No, I didn't. That's the thing. That's the thing. Whoa. No, I didn't. And to be transparent, it was that fear of like, man, what if and I'm not a swimmer.
Was it like a bungee jump, or were you like
no,
jumping in the water?
Just jumping in the water, like you just jumping.
I can't swim, so I wouldn't have jumped either.
Right, it wasn't terribly far down. It just was the idea that, okay, what if I don't come back up? I got a little bit of weight on me, what if I don't come back up, kind of thing. But it got me thinking that in order for us, to really truly see all that God has, you just got to jump. And he says that at the end of chapter 7. Sometimes you have to jump. You never know what that experience might be like until you take that leap. And so I told my wife, I made a commitment to her. We're gonna go back, and I'm gonna jump next time. Okay, so
wow,
that's one of my goals, is to go back to that same location and be able to take that leap. So
all right, the last subtopic here, and then sis, I need you to think of the question, be realistic, and then it has it scratched out, and then it says think big.
Yeah, I like that.
Before we discuss that, sis, what's the question? What's the question that they need to answer to get this lunch money?
All right, to get this lunch money, the question is, what fears are you putting aside that's obstructing your quest or vision?
Woo!
She right on point. That's what
I'm typing it
just
now.
talking about. Right.
Say it one more time so that people can know. If you have the best, Tracy's going to put all the answers up, and then she's going to choose the best answer at the end, and then you're going to inbox our sister Delia here, and she going to take care of your lunch. I took care of lunch earlier. Tim took care of his wife's lunch because she won. We ain't want to think we was rigging the whole system, and now we're over to her. So state the question one more time.
All right. So what fears are you putting aside that is obstructing your quest or vision?
Great. So while they're typing the answers, Tim, I want you to hit us with be realistic / think big. Talk to us about that for a little bit.
Oh man, I think that right there is a big one, because I mean it's so easy to fall into that trap of, be realistic. That's not a realistic goal. And it creates what we're talking about, like what my sisters asked the question of. It creates that fear of, no, you can't do that. That's too big. Or, you don't have the right resources to do that. Or, you're not connected to the right people, or you don't have the right last name, or, all these excuses that can come into play in our minds. That whole be realistic piece can really hold us back. But I love that he highlights think big, because it's, what did he say? He said something in here that really caught me. He said, this is your whole life list. He said whole life list. I like that. It's meant to be something you work on and refer to for a long time. So if you don't, think big, you'll never have big. You'll never get big. You'll stay in that small space. It's like the woman who had to, I keep referencing biblical content, but it's like the woman, man. She had to go and get out pots. If she didn't have pots, she wouldn't have the capacity to receive what the man of God had for her. So it's just like that with our lives. Is you have to throw out a big, huge net if you want to be able to receive all that God has for you. And so, I mean, for me, think big is huge. We have to break the cycle of thinking small and staying in one place in our mind. And I know even you've mentioned this before on one of our lives, just the difference. And for me, this is important, especially right now with all that's going on. You said I wonder if there's a black quest, and I thought that was huge. Like realistically, our people, we have really kind of always been in that mindset of belittling our thoughts and who we are. But for me, it's important that we think big. I believe we're in a season right now where God is about to do some radical, ridiculous stuff.
Yes, God.
But we've got to put our mind in the right place. We've got to set our mind in the right place. And I believe this is that season. We're going to see people come out of this season. I'm talking firing off with businesses and dreams and hopes that have been dormant for years. I really honestly believe this is that time. It's out of great crisis that we see great and wonderful things. So I'm excited.
Yeah, man, I think that is I think that's amazing. I think that's a great place to even wrap up our time together today, to encourage everybody to think big, to have that net breaking mentality. That, you know, after I cast my net on the other side, even though it looks like you have not caught anything this year, even though it looks like you've been fishing all year, you've been trying all year, and Corona and the pandemic and things haven't gone the way you wanted them to go, and you thought you would be further along, and this year you had to make some adjustments, and you can't do some things you thought you were going to do, to say, you know what, my mentality is of Luke 5:6. I'm going to listen and obey the instructions, and because of my obedience, I'm going to dream, I'm going to think big, that this is going to be a net breaking season for me, even though I've caught nothing all year. Even though I've caught nothing all year, I'm going to think big, and I'm still going to have the faith on the inside of me that this is a net breaking, record breaking, limit breaking, restriction breaking year in my life. I am excited about this book club. I'm excited about everything God's doing. It was just 2 chapters today. I saw our amazing leader, Mark Moore Jr. Thank you, bro, for this opportunity and for this platform.
Thank you.
We're going to be begging you to let us do something this upcoming week, like a pop-up book club. Since we had to do it just 2 chapters, we want to kind of come in sometime during the week and do another 2 chapters. So I'll get with you and our media team and see if there's any time, any space there. But let's think big. Let's think big. And as we think big, let's figure out who's going to get the rest of this lunch money. So Tracy, I need you now to put up who the winner is. Put up who the winner is. Let's see here. Is that our winner, Mary? Okay. Believe I can. Ask for a creative portfolio and plan. Do it. Take action. Mary, you are the winner. You are the 3rd winner. We had 3 people get blessed with lunch today.
That's right.
So YLC is going to be a blessing to you all. Mary, all you have to do is inbox our sis Adelia. Tim's wife, all you got to do, you know where he lives, you know where he stays, you can find him to get you your lunch. And Ayana, inbox me, sis. It's going to be lunch on YLC for everybody who came. Listen, only if you press the share button. We're going to give you about like 30 more seconds to make sure you press that. If I go to your name, if Tim goes to your name, if my sis goes to your name, and you have not pressed share, you will not be getting this Cash App money. It's not going to happen. We'll just put it in the reserve, and we'll give it away next time. But everybody, I hope you were blessed. I hope you had an amazing time. We've been discussing the happiness of pursuit. The happiness of pursuit. So any last words, y'all? Any last words?
Just real quick, I just want to encourage people not to encourage people to be okay if the route to the quest or on the quest mutates. If it changes, if COVID-19 happens, if a pandemic happens. Elder Mark Moore posted a video last night about the pivot. And I want to encourage people to go look at that video.
Go back and
look at that. On your quest, you may have to pivot. So I just want to encourage people, and those are my closing remarks.
Awesome. And there's one thing I forgot to say. Subscribe to
he froze a little bit.
Content. We have some new content. We have some amazing content on our YouTube page. So go subscribe. YLC TV on YouTube. It's been a great day. Inbox us those Cash Apps so we can be a blessing. And we will see you all later this week. Peace. Have a good one.
All right. Take care.
All right, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Good one.